Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of As Above, So Below. My name is Meg Moonbeam, and I'm here with my soul sister, Ashala. Hey, Ashala, how's it going?
Oh, hello, Meg. I'm so delighted that you're back and that we're back doing this show this week,
Yay!
especially with this great big full moon right around the corner and
Mhm.
so much to talk about. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yay! Yeah, I'm excited, and I missed doing our show last week. Thank you so much for covering or covering for me with Janine.
Mhm.
Was visiting some family in the States. So, yeah, missed you guys, but we are back. And yes, there is a lot to talk about. So, before we get into it, you guys, please remember, as always, to like, share, and subscribe to the Beyond Mystic YouTube, Rumble, and X channels. And also, Ashal and I both offer personal readings. Excuse me, I've got the hiccups now that I'm having a ginger beer over here. Over at consultations.beyondmystic.net. And how are the readings going, Ashala? We're still kind of at the beginning of a Gregorian year. We've got the snake year just started. We're going to get into that a bit, as well as the full moon in today's show. How are the readings going lately?
Yeah, that really interesting as always. Lots of questions around, choices with finances. I douse for people. I do card pulls on which cryptocurrency to
Mhm.
invest in. I mean, how to move their finances around. So there's been lots of that this week, and I was looking at in my forecast for this coming week, I got this energy that felt very Virgoian. It felt very
Mm,
much like and about, sort of focusing on our financial planning, both the small version of it and the larger, bigger, uh, long-term, long-range transitional plans and strategies.
mm. Love that. Very interesting. And that ties in a little bit with this full moon, the finances, as we will get into. And also, Ashal and I are both going to be offering mini readings at the Beyond Mystic conference that's going to be happening very soon. Can you believe, Ashala, that we are exactly a month and 2 days away from the Beyond Mystic conference?
It's really exciting, and I'm really getting stoked about it. I can't wait to meet you all in person. It's
Yay!
just like, yeah. I mean, the people that I have met in person of, clients and co-creators and stuff like that, it always feels like we're like, "Oh, yeah, this is how I thought it would be," but it is so special and lovely.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. So I think that's going to be coming out soon. The availability for our very limited personal readings with, let me refresh my memory, everybody that's going to be offering readings. Janine is going to be offering some one on one readings, Penny Kelly, myself, Ashala, Sylvia, and Jenny. So this is going to be very, very exciting stuff. You guys, just a month away. And I know that the hotel that we're staying at is really booking up. There's, of course, other hotels in the area. So Beyond Mystic Conference, a woo beginning. We're going to have so much fun with live lectures, meditations, ceremonies, live Beyond the News with JC and Janine. JC and I might as well do some DJ set in one of the evening. We'll have some dancing as well. Also, vendors, if you're interested in being a potential vendor, I think the form is available somewhere here on the beyondmystic.net/conference page. So lots of magical things going to be coming up with that. So excited to meet you in person, Ashala, because we haven't met in person yet.
Likewise, Meg.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that'll be so much fun. And also, last little bit of housekeeping here. Our lovely Carla over at Ascension Organites has a Valentine's Day silver jewelry sale from now until February 15th, 20% off. She's got the beautiful, I think, if I'm not mistaken, the Haida Gwaii jewelry over there, Shungite jewelry, lots of amazing stuff. So you can go check that out at the link in the description box. How do you feel, Ashala, about Valentine's Day? I mean, I just realized as we're going live, we're doing this Valentine's Day week. What are your feelings around that holiday? Does
Yeah.
it
Well,
resonate?
I liked how you and Jens and I talked about it a couple of weeks
Yeah.
back, and it felt really, that was really profound. But reflecting just in the last few days, I'm really noticing this particular full moon in Leo, like a lot of sort of self-care in a different way, not just about, oh, I want to feel good and I want to be healthy and strong, but really adornment and thinking about, not so much about, like wearing brand names or designer labels or stuff like that, but just really thinking about self-expression, creativity. And so I'm treating this Valentine's Day, for myself being single, I'm treating it like this opportunity to really, I'm going to go through all my wardrobe. I'm going to sort through things. I might get a couple of new items for the conference. Like, I'm really feeling inclined to pay attention to those things, which sometimes it's sort of like, yeah, okay, get it done, or every once in a while an extravagant shopping spree or something. But finances, right? We're all feeling called to be very aware of what we're spending and budgeting. So it feels like I'm looking at going through things this Valentine's week and really almost like doing my own little personal makeover.
Wow, I love that. And I think that's so powerful. And as a Taurus rising myself, I really believe, the physical possessions, all that Taurus stuff, our values and the clothes and the physical things we acquire does attract, what comes into our life, and also has a lot to do with our self-confidence and value. So I think that's so powerful that you're doing that, Ashala, this Valentine's Day. That is super, super cool. So yeah, we're going to get into the full moon. We're going to get into the snake Chinese Lunar New Year. Before we get into any of that stuff, Ashala, how was the show last week? I've been on the road with family, so I haven't had a chance yet to watch the show you and Janine did. How was that show?
I'm trying to remember the details now. It's been a whole week. Overall, it felt amazing.
Yeah.
We were kind of going back and forth, looking at energies. We were looking at this upcoming year. And it just, it felt like we were coming at things from a slightly different angle, like Janine and I always do, but so complementary in how we saw what was coming and how we were going to move forward. And we were also looking at this phenomena that you and I have talked about, and it's shown up in other places where we're talking about going into the months of the year. Now I remember we were looking at the months of the year ahead, particularly over that April, May, June, July, August time. And because Janine had also pulled some interesting cards in her forecast for the year over those months. And so we were kind of analyzing that a bit and looking at it a bit more deeply. So go check that out.
Right. Very cool. Awesome. And Murdoch says, it was a great show. Thank you, Murdoch. Well, should we start off, Ashala, with doing kind of like a collective tarot reading on where we're at, what's going on, what wants to be shared with us in this moment?
Let's do that, Meg. I love setting the tone and just seeing where the cards are showing us that we would be best to, just establish the base note. Lovely, beautiful heart frequency card on the bottom, unconditional love. Let's see what the top cards are. So interesting. Again, we've got this focus on material, the material world. Not only like our material possessions and our money, but also coming into a greater skill with how we choose what we purchase. So this feels to me like getting it back into buying things that are like true quality things, instead of just sort of fast fashion, going for things that are like have lasting significance. And this could be in whatever area it is, but in any sort of consumer area, it feels like we're looking at quality over quantity. And that's interesting after what we were just talking about. Look at that. Love is in the air. Beautiful. So love it starts with how we treat ourselves, is what I'm hearing. And this week is a great time for us to come back to sort of self. Remember, I said this is unconditional love, which starts with self. So this
Wow.
is a great week to focus on that. And, it's different than ego and self-aggrandizement, right? It's not about like puffing yourself up full of pride and ego. It's about really honoring your true value
Mm,
and coming back into a place of gratitude, not just acceptance, like, yeah, I don't really like my life, or, I'm not super happy with myself or my body or my job or my relationship or whatever. It's really coming back to a great degree of acknowledgement of how extraordinary you are. I mean, I think everyone in this community deserves a badge of honor for being such phenomenal warriors, everyday heroes,
yeah.
you know? And I think we spend a lot of time looking at the things that we're doing wrong or that we think we need to improve on. This is a week to really look at yourself, especially in terms of all the positive things and all the great growth and all the potential that's even emerged in the last few weeks or months.
Mm,
Oh yeah, and notice that a lot of what we are doing, a lot of what's clouds our judgment. The guys are saying it's almost easier when the world looks a bit bleak or we're feeling a lot of emotion and well, clearly, depression and grief here. It's a habit to turn on ourselves. That's the time where we often turn on ourselves and say, well, I'm not good enough, or,
mm,
I'm not doing enough to make things better or whatever. And they're saying, really, if you can work on not sabotaging yourself, like really looking at that self-defeating, self-sabotaging, when we feel that the world looks bleak, that we turn on ourselves.
mm.
Yeah. So,
Wow, that's beautiful.
mm,
Love that combination altogether.
yeah,
And it feels like there is something about this time of year where maybe it's, we're getting close to Pisces season. We're at the end of an astrological year. I'm feeling this energy of like going inward. And, it really is that time where we're kind of preparing for the natural new year, which is the spring equinox, and that really big new beginning. And before we have that new beginning, we have to kind of go within, like you were talking about, Ashala, kind of check shop, check out our wardrobe, our finances, where spend some time alone, check where we're at. So it is kind of like that Five of Cups of looking at, okay, where are we self-sabotaging and where does that come from? Is
yeah,
that our own internal wound? Is that something else from maybe a family member or a friend or something that was projected onto us? Right?
definitely, Meg. Definitely. Yeah. I think it's a lot of times, and we have a community with a lot of empaths in it,
Mm-hmm.
and we often will throw ourselves under the bus. It's
Yeah.
like, it's just a habit. And they're saying, it really, it's actually the opposite is the thing that it will create the revolution. I used to say self-love is a revolutionary act. It is
Mm,
huge. It's not a small thing. It literally will change the whole frequency on this planet.
yes.
So it's a serious business.
That is so true. And Carol here in the chat says self love, taking stock, loving where we are and how far we have come. I love that. That's beautiful. And full moon in Leo, Leo is the sign of love, romance, self love, honoring yourself, right? Leos know how to shine in their brilliance and creativity, which in the really kind of unbalanced aspect can be ego, can be selfishness. But what it is in just its natural way is honoring self and self love, which is not selfish. And we've been very programmed in this Western society to disempower us that to love ourselves and to put proper boundaries up and all that is selfish, when actually it's not. Like you were saying, Ashal, it changes the whole world and it makes us stronger, right? So cool. So before we get into the full moon in Leo, we'll talk about that for the collective and the signs. Let's talk about the year of the snake. So before we went live, Ashala, you were sharing with me that you've been really feeling the energy of this year of the snake very strong, which started just a couple weeks ago, right? That we've
Yeah.
entered this frequency.
Yeah, I believe it depends on, I think it's where the new moon is, right? That's when
Right.
it, so what was the date of the new moon, Meg?
The last new moon was January 31st. I may be
Right.
wrong, somewhere around there.
Somewhere around there. Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
usually somewhere between the 29th and February 2nd, I think. So right
Right.
in that window. And what this does is, with Chinese astrology, there's a sign and an element. So an animal and an element for each
Mm,
year. And it goes through 12 animals. So one animal each year for 12 years, and then it goes through that cycle again. But each time, the animals go through different elements. So the last time that we had the year of the wood snake, which is what we've just gone into, was 60 years ago.
wow.
So that is what, 1964,
Mhm.
65,
Yeah.
1965.
Wow.
So it is this sort of like that was the last time that we worked with this frequency of the wood snake energy.
Mm,
And what it, among other things, and I also calculate up the total of the numbers of the year. So 2025 adds up to a 9.
right.
So 9 is the Hermit card in the tarot. It is about kind of the final step, the whole 9 yards. It's the gathering point. It's the coalescing of everything. The Hermit goes off to the mountain to explore in solitude and sort of, again, draw all these parts of self together. A lot of self, sort of taking stock, taking inventory, and recycling, going to the core of yourself, your values, looking at how much you've grown over the last 9 or 10 years, and then emerging. So that's the number 9 energy of 2025. And then the wood snake is very similar. It's about grounding to your roots, because wood is like the root of the tree. So we go to our roots, and then we basically go through a shedding process where we transmute everything and we grow new skin that literally pushes the old skin off.
Right.
So it's both of them are a lot about going inward, doing this big transmutation process and being rebirthed. So interesting. Eh?
So it's, in your opinion, Ashala, would you say the snake is the biggest year in the Chinese of shedding and kind of detoxification?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
definitely.
Wow. That definitely ties into kind of the astrology that we're having with the Western astrology right now, 2025 going into 2026, with many of the planets, in Pisces at those final anaretic degrees, which are really about the biggest endings, the biggest karmic purgings, right? And then we go back and forth a couple times with Saturn, Neptune in those last anaretic degrees of Pisces, then into Aries. So we kind of get a start, spring going into the summer of this year, of that new beginning, all the outer planets in very kind of positive light places. And then closer to, let me think of this at the top of my head, September, October, November, December, it's almost like a step back. It's almost like a revisiting. Have you been getting that in the cards? I don't know if we've talked about that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually personally, I feel like things are speeding up to the point where it's
Right.
happening so frequently. Like I've been hearing lots of people, lots of my clients talking about, the going from almost like one extreme to another in terms of these tremendous processes, emotional, mental, spiritual, energetic, physical health symptoms, where it's just like
Mhm.
you go through this big process, have some really extreme day or couple of days, and then you come out of it pretty rapidly and feel renewed.
Wow.
I feel like we're going to see a lot of waves of that this year. And the whole year feels like it's that kind of deep dive and then cleansing and then coming to the surface for air again and doing it again and again, right?
Right. Yeah. Are there certain practices, Ashala, that you like to do or ways that you like to work with the year of the snake or that you would recommend to other people watching?
Well, I mean, two things come to mind, Meg. One is movement, which kind of goes along with music, and I know
Right.
that's your wheelhouse. So, moving our bodies, it feels like this year, you really want to move energy, whatever way is feels good for you. If it's walking, if it's hiking, if it is some kind of aerobics or dance or yoga or whatever it is, qigong, breath work, just move energy because we're going
Right.
to be literally transforming every cell of our body this year. So, like, really a lot of that energy moving. And the other place where we get to tap in, no matter what your relationship is with your soul, whether you do, you have a meditation practice or you do intuitive readings or healing work with yourself or others, we all dream, or we all have a dream world that we go to when we go to sleep. And so
Mm.
I really see this year as being a time where we can work therapeutically with our dreams. And interestingly enough, next week, Beyond Mystic is launching my dream analysis
Yay.
workshop. So that'll be coming out. We can talk about that a little bit next week. But that's the two places I've already noticed so much really big work in my dream time and feeling the need to move my body every day in a very purposeful way.
That's so cool and so true. The snake moves. Like when it moves, it's every part of its, snake body, if that's the right term, seems to be moving with it. And it's very kind of tantric and even sexual and extremely powerful as
Yeah,
well.
that
Snake.
Kundalini energy, right? It's like
Right.
we're actually tapping into an ancient source of energy. Like it feels like it's kind of what I'm hearing the guides say is it's a bit of a initiation rites of passage year, but it's not so much something we have to do out there.
Right.
We've been doing so much out in the world, right? We've been like, you know, whatever, like going to rallies and sharing information and
Mhm.
watching truth channels and getting involved in the community. And
Yeah.
this year feels like a lot of it is going to be you yourself and you, right? Yeah.
So cool. Would you like to do a reading for us on this snake year that we're
Yes,
starting to?
please. That would be lovely.
Um,
Yeah, the first thing I'm hearing just as I'm even shuffling is let it go.
mm,
Like, don't try to hold on this year. Don't try to hold on
right.
to, if you've got old, like, stuck attitudes in relationships or yeah, where you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to move that. If it starts getting activated, like, we don't have to go digging. What I'm hearing is we're not going to have to go digging very far. Things are going to come up. And
Mhm.
instead of getting like, no, I'm afraid to work on that, or no, I'm holding back, or I'm just going to protect myself. And
Right.
it's like, they're just like, let it go.
Mm,
Um, yeah, that's kind of the main thing that I'm hearing right now. Let's just look and see. Yeah, it's a gift. Right on the other side, so play in the energy of frequency of continual motion. There's a lot of continual motion, but it's not that motion where it's going so fast that you just feel like you're spun out. It feels very cyclical this year. It
right.
feels very like there's going to be a continual upgrade. This is a lot about stepping outside of your comfort zone. You don't have to jump way outside of it,
Mm,
but just keep taking little regular steps outside of it. So again, motion. Threes are, the even numbers are still points. They're sort of like, yeah, like still energy. And the odd numbers are movement. So we've got an even number. Well, actually, it's an odd number, right? One is like the
right.
beginning, a new beginning, a gift. So this is a new start, especially in the physical. So our bodies and our resources, money and material things, land, homes, buying and selling of homes, real estate, that all feels very significant. Keep
Mhm.
moving. So working outside of stagnation. Yeah. And we're going to have a great, let's just say, developing trust in ourselves this year. This is a maturity card. And if it was poorly aspected, it could mean other things, but these are fantastic cards beside
Yeah.
it. So I feel like we're going to really learn a lot about our own emotional maturity this year. And like I said earlier, this community feels like heroes. It's a
Yeah.
community of heroes and light workers.
That is so beautiful, Ashala. Thank you for that. And the second ace of the evening. Very interesting. I always like when we get the aces. It's like, yay.
It's fresh. It's fresh, and it's a renewal energy, and that is the other word for this year. So I called it the year of synthesis, gathering everything together and renewing. So it's a renewal.
Beautiful. And Emily, oh, Tanya says spot on. And Emily says, love this community. Yes, we love this community as well. And can't wait to meet a lot of you guys in person, and always love every time we do the shows connecting in the live chat. Whether or not you comment, we're all in this community energetically together, which is beautiful. So we've just entered the year of the snake in the Chinese lunar calendar. And it's interesting, Ashal, before we went, I had a realization, which may sound really kind of stupid because I am a professional astrologer, but right before we went live, I realized, oh my gosh, so many of these planets right now are in, like most of the planets are in either a detriment or a fall sign right now. So the sun is at detriment in Aquarius at the moment. We've got Mercury soon is going to be entering Pisces in just a few days, his detriment sign. Saturn doesn't like to be in Pisces. Venus is at fall in Aries. Uranus is at fall in Taurus. Mars is at fall in Cancer. It's like a lot of these planets, many of them, that's Sun, Venus, Uranus, just to go technically with the detriment and fall signs. Uranus, Jupiter as well, detriment in Gemini. Mars, that's 5 or 6 major placements that they're in the places that they least like to be. So it's interesting with this full moon, which is in the sign of Leo, which is, fun, romance, creativity, being in our confidence, our inner child, right? We haven't even touched on yet the inner child and all that. It's one of the beautiful lighter signs ruled by the sun, the only sign in Western astrology ruled by the sun. But at this full moon, so many planets in their least favorite sign to be, uncomfortable. So it's like we're at this uncomfortable position where I think it's so cool, Shala, that you wanted to start with talking about the year of the snake, because we have to get uncomfortable to release. Right. And let me know if you guys disagree with that. But from my personal experiences, the times where I've gone through a real deal release and letting go, it came from being put in a very uncomfortable position or very uncomfortable realizations, right? That then pushes us forward to let go of what no longer serves. So full moons, as many of you guys know, it's our time in the lunation cycle of letting go and completion and also illumination of whatever area of life we have. In this case, it's going to be 24 degrees of Leo. So you can check in your chart where you've got 24 degrees of Leo. And I think for many of us, and I'm curious to see what we're going to get in the cards for each of the signs of Shala, I think for a lot of us, there can be this uncomfortableness wherever we have Leo, whatever areas of life we've got the sign Leo in our charts, or any planets, around 24 degrees of Leo. And not just all that, this full moon is in a T square to Uranus. So every full moon, sun, moon are in opposition, and the sun and moon are both in square, almost exact, only 1 degree off, to Uranus at fall in Taurus. So this has been the most unstable thing we've been going through astrologically since 2018. This is why things feel so fucked up right now.
Wow.
Because Taurus is the earth, Mother Earth, nature, the food. Taurus, our groundedness, our safety, our comforts, our values, conservatism. Uranus is the future and moving past societal norms and revolution and shocks and surprises. So we've already been going through this very uncomfortable process, almost like the snake. I feel like we've maybe been working with that snake kind of archetype for a while, but it's getting heightened this year. And this full moon, which is exact, I forgot to say, sorry, you guys, Wednesday, February 12th at exactly 8:53 a.m. Eastern time. So, put that according to whatever time zone you're in. This is a big point of release, of maybe some uncomfortable or shocking realizations about some things that need to be completed or released in our personal lives and also the collective. And it's interesting, Ashala, that you were bringing up finances right off the bat as well, because we all know Taurus rules money, finances, things of physical value. Right. So that this Uranus and Taurus transit that we're in until 2026, we're moving forward in a new money system, right? In an uncomfortable kind of way. So let me know, you guys, if I'm missing on anything. I try my best to keep up to date with all the news and things that's going on, but it's so much lately that it's like hard to keep up with all of it. I'm sure you can relate to that, Ashala. And I find with this Jupiter and Gemini, there's times where I'm like, I don't even need to know every story because it's just too hyper frenetic. It's just, just take a chill pill, just take a pause on that. But it feels like with this full moon in the collective, there could be some kind of big announcement or real deal change around the money system, around maybe crypto, gold, silver. Those things are ruled by Uranus and Taurus. Is that something you've been picking up at all the past week or so, Ashala, just around this time that we're in right now with this full moon energy?
Yes, Meg, it is. And, I feel like, again, I'm getting this sense that it's not all going to happen at once, but we're going to see, almost like this pulsing growth of like these new systems. I don't see like a switch being flipped and we're going to go from one system to another and that's the end of the old and the beginning of the new. I see it's this very sort of graduated energy of we're going to be moving forward. And what I love about that, Meg, is that there's still time to really get on board with all of this.
Yes.
Like, I don't think we've missed the boat. If you don't have crypto right now, I don't think you're out of the game. I think that even what I've noticed is there's been, let's just say there's a lot of things getting worked out in the process of all this. And some people this is their wheelhouse and they're meant to be right there on the ground floor in the first couple of decades of the development of digital currency. And for a lot of us, I feel like we're going to slowly start arriving there. And as we arrive, there's going to be a lot of clarity around everything to do with different types of currencies and, like sort of almost like even the technologies are going to be better and everything's going to be easier to work with is what I'm hearing. So overall, I get that yes, I think that we're going to see another one of those, there's no turning back points
Right.
around this full moon. Like it's going to be another big expander. And yet I don't think it's certainly not the final thing. I think there's still a lot happening.
Right. Yeah, totally. And we have to do things in stages, right? We have to, if we were to let everything go just in one point, we would spontaneously human combust, it'd be too much. So this is a really big full moon of some really big culmination of realizations, insights. Uranus, even though he is in a T-square, so it's a super unstable energy, this full moon. This is not a full moon of, it's going to be relaxing and peaceful. No, this is an unstable, even in the medical astrology, we can be feeling on edge or a little bit of nervousness or anxiety because Uranus is our nervous system and the brain and our electrical impulses. So we can be having a lot of ascension symptoms, kind of what you were alluding to, Ashala, getting used to the new frequencies that we're stepping into. And there's still time to get on the boat with certain things. And, Uranus is cryptocurrency. Uranus is those new ways of the future. So it's not too late because Uranus is still in Taurus, right, until 2026. So this is really, whoever wants to get on board with this, you can get on board with it until, in my personal astrological opinion, mid 2026, when Uranus ingresses into Gemini. That's when we're really starting to be in very new territory. And if you're not on that kind of new Aquarian boat, it's going to become it's going to be more challenging. Not that you can't still, but it'll just be a lot more challenging, because maybe, for example, just to go to the crypto, and we're not financial advisors, you guys, but just using this as an example, maybe by that point, it will be a lot more normalized to do things like buy a house with crypto, buy a car with, like, by that point, there's going to be something totally new about the financial system and how we're transacting and our values as society too. And I see a comment here. Barno says, the truth is going to be so uncomfortable, and it is already happening. March, Epstein list, 9/11, aliens, JFK, Martin Luther King, it's coming out. So that was actually something I just wanted to bring up really briefly, Ashala. I don't know if you'd heard about that yet, but I've been seeing a lot on the kind of independent journalism that supposedly within the next 10 days, the Epstein files and full client list may be released. Did you hear anything about that?
I did, yes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow. So this is something where, a lot of us have kind of stepped on that boat, to use that analogy, of really being open to the truth about what's been going on in the world, the control systems, the dark elites, all that. But there's still a lot of people that don't think this is real, that aren't mentally ready yet to hear that some of their favorite celebrities and politicians are on some of these lists, that are a part of some of these nefarious dealings. Could we do a reading, Ashala, on, I want to do one on the full moon in Leo, but what I'm feeling actually specifically right now is, how can we support those around us? And I think most of us probably have family or friends in our life that are not yet going through the wake up, or starting to go through a wake up, because this is, I think, and let me know what you think, Ashala, I think this is going to start to get very intense and ramp up even more. We're talking JFK files, Epstein list, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I feel like a lot of people who are asleep are in a bit of a freeze mode. And so it seems like it's going to be helpful for them to feel as though there's something they can do about this. Like, because this is frozen, right? This is just like waiting, and maybe even suspending belief. So there could be a feeling of like, I don't know, this maybe just is fake news, or like even real news seems like fake news. I think people are getting a little bit like, I don't want to know anything else. Right. And I don't trust the news anymore, and that sort of thing. So what I think is really going to be helpful is where we do a lot of sort of taking people historically back through the last 20 years. Like, I think it's going to be helpful, instead of just being like, these celebrities are on this list, or these, this is what's been happening. I think to actually literally walk people through narratives and storylines over the last couple of decades, so that they can make their own conclusions. So instead of it just being like the big headline news caption where they just go, that's fake, I'm not even going to listen to that. Right. I think it's more important to kind of get them looking where they want to, for so many of us, right? We found the truths, we went down the rabbit holes. That's what we call it. That's the phenomenon we call it. We want them to do that. We want them to get curious and want to do their own looking into things, because that's going to really take them somewhere. Like, they can feel they have some way of being involved in doing something about this. So I guess what I'm getting at is, we might want to be very careful how the news comes out, and we might want to just give them enough that they go looking.
Right. Yeah. And not going back to even what we were talking about for ourselves, that not overload them with the information.
Yeah.
Right.
Let them curious on a couple of points and get them to go do their own, like, great statements instead of these people are all doing these things and this is what they've been doing to children and all these people are on this list. Better to say, did you know that so and so and so and so had this connection 15 years ago,
Right.
and that connects them to this? Check it out. Go look it up. So you get them to kind of go into the past, because I'm seeing this character looking into the past, looking at the world, because, they probably are going to want to go and look at things and literally go back and look at and do a little bit of their own research. Then if they find out a couple of things and they're like, oh wow, they're more likely, just like the way it was for so many of us coming to channels like, Beyond Mystic and Beyond the News. It's like, once you've seen the proof of a few of these information drops, you're like more likely to come back to that source and want to get more. So I guess what I'm hearing is that we don't give it to them in a big overall overarching banner. We give them a couple of little stories and get them going looking.
Yeah. Yeah. And could we maybe do a supplemental pull, Ashala, on, are we looking at within this full moon portal, as in the next 5 days, some of these actually really big information coming out that's freaking mind blowing to the whole collective? In terms of the elites, some of the politicians, a lot of what we already know, but having to do with the Epstein list or having to do with the JFK files, that kind of nature stuff.
So I feel like it's on hold for another, let's say, week to 10 days, almost like we're going to get over the Valentine's weekend. But within this next 2 weeks, yes.
Wow. Okay, interesting. Very, very interesting. That is powerful. Thank you. Murdoch says lots of blue in that reading.
Yeah, lots of blue.
Lots of
blue.
Yeah. And would you like to do kind of like a general read on this full moon in Leo for us, Ashala? There is a lot to it, but or maybe you want to frame that a different way.
Yeah. I feel like maybe asking it a little more specific. What do you want to know about it, Meg?
How can we best work with this full moon as a collective?
Okay. I'm going to do a bit of a bigger spread here.
Okay, cool.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Oh, gracious. Oh, another major.
Wow.
Huh. So very dramatic, right? When I think about Leo, that's another characteristic of Leo, is the high drama kind of energy. And so we've got this, we're coming to these karmic turning points. Well, we've been at so many of them over the last few years, but they continue and they're ramping up steadily, right? And we're getting a lot better at handling that on a regular basis. And I feel like it's almost like when we see things going on in the outer world, we can sort of handle it if we're feeling okay on the inside, or if we're going through stuff on the inside, we can kind of handle it if we don't have a lot going on in the outside, but we don't want to put those two together.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting is that, just kind of stay in your lane over this next week to 10 days and don't take on a lot of the bigger world event stuff, because it's very likely most of us are going to go through some energetic let's just call it transmutations this week, right?
Okay.
And this could be in the form of different physical symptoms, as you're speaking about, some cleansing, some, it could be some psychological distress where we're just suddenly feeling anxiety or panic, or, and it could be, in relationship or emotional stuff, but it feels short-lived because look at this, the Fool is in the center. So it feels like not to get attached to anything. What is that old saying? If you're going through hell, keep going. Don't stop. Don't
Mhm.
don't get stuck there. Don't attach to it again. Let go this week was what I heard, right? It's going to
Right.
be really important for us to just keep letting go. Just keep
Mhm.
letting go. And if you're feeling funky, don't look at the news.
Mm.
Like, it's almost like the guys are making a bit of a joke and they're saying, it's kind of like a soap opera right now. Like, if you miss a few days, it's still you'll know what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to make fun of it, but it is kind of a funny way to think about
Yeah.
it, right? It's like we won't lose the plot if we take a few days off. So, if you're not feeling good, just step away and look after you.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm getting. And oh, look at that. Right? And really work on visualizing really great things to do with your material life, like big material dreams. Focus on building. This is the wish fulfilled card. So we have to make our wishes around finances. What are we going to do with the money we want to acquire?
Right.
Like not just thinking about, I need to make all this money. What are you going to do with all this money? Right? It's like get a plan going of what you're going to do and how you're going to disperse what you have. And think big is what I'm hearing.
Wow.
Mhm.
That is so powerful, Ashala. But I mean, those first 4 major arcanas, that's like
Right.
absolutely wild.
Isn't it?
And it feels like the justice, devil, and judgment. It's I don't know if you use this term. Maybe I it slipped in my ear now another, but like I'm hearing pay attention. Like spirit saying, pay attention.
Mhm.
What
Mhm.
is happening
Well,
right now, or what is coming up for you where maybe we're turning a blind eye? Maybe we're like, oh, I'm not going to deal with that right now. I'm going to pretend that that's
mhm.
not an issue. It feels like it's that Leo, it's going to be a drama show if we don't pay attention to what we need to be. And it's really not a time, like I totally resonate with you of sitting there and watching the news for 6 hours. It's like, okay, that's something happening outside yourself, which, yes, we are a part of the collective. Yes, there are historic things happening, but we're also going through so much transmutation personally.
Mhm.
And that is the most important thing to bring it back to the start of the show. Self love is the biggest act you can do, self care.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. I love that pay attention and notice what you're paying attention to.
Mm,
It's like I get a little bit of this feeling with a lot of us. I'm guilty of this as well, where we're spending so much time sort of analyzing what's going on in the world so that we can somehow strategize, but we're not doing a lot of strategizing.
right.
We're sort of going like, well, when I know what's really happening and when I know really where the chips are going to fall, then I'll make a plan.
Yeah.
And the guys are saying, no, no, make your plans. Make
Make,
your plans. You can adjust them, but you generally they're going to begin them now. Make
mm,
your plans. Start where you are. Really, again, take inventory of what you have, what you're working with,
mm,
what what your projected budgets and incomes and so on are, and like what you have control over right now. It's
yeah.
it's pay attention to that. Don't neglect that to look out there and look for an answer of a time or whatever. It feels like it's very
Right.
important to stay in your own life and feel like, yeah, wishes can be a lot closer than you think. Wish fulfilled. Mhm.
Mm, wishes. I love that.
And this one is kind of like, feeling like you're stuck, and it's it's different. There's two different ways of feeling you're stuck. You could feel like, um, you're putting your ducks in a row. It's a really great time for getting your ducks in a row. You're putting your ducks in a row and you're waiting for the season to be open, right? You don't know when it's going to happen exactly, but you're getting your ducks in a row, or you're just waiting till the season opens to get your ducks in a row. They're going, no, you get your ducks in a row.
Mhm. I love that saying, to get your ducks in a row. That's awesome. Well, thank you, Ashala. That's beautiful. And I can't believe we are almost at the hour mark of today's show. Time feels like it's going by absolutely so fast. Is there anything that we didn't touch on yet, Ashala, that you want to bring up, or any closing remarks before we finish up?
I think it's pretty good, Meg. I think it's pretty good. I mean, I could pull a single card for each of the 4 elements quickly.
Sure. Yeah.
So for our start with our fire signs, okay?
Aries, Leo, Sagittarius.
Oh, beautiful. The star. So again, put yourself center stage in your own play.
Yeah.
Devote some time this week on making yourself the star.
Love that.
What do you love? What do you want to, are there skills you want to develop? Are there are there things you want to let go of to make room for other things? And I'm talking everything, material things, personal things. It's really about, putting yourself center stage for the fire signs.
Beautiful.
And
Earth
next
signs.
one, earth signs. Okay,
Yeah.
earth signs. Let's
Taurus,
see.
Virgo, Capricorn. It's fun to do just one for each.
Oh, earth signs. Focus on the earthly things. This is the money legacy card. There's something for the earth signs about multiplying what you have. Focus on how you can expand what you already have. So instead of going to look for wealth, material resource, can you expand on what you already have, is what I'm hearing for earth signs. Wow.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And air signs next.
Air signs.
Air signs.
Gemini, Libra, Aquarius.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that one jumped out. Okay, let's see what that is. Jumped out. Jumped out. Okay, so this was your pay attention. This was your pay attention. Air signs, we tend to get distracted easily. We think a lot. We talk a lot. We disassociate a lot. And yeah, to some degree, I mean, I'm speaking broadly, right? But pay attention. There is even something energetically, I feel like it's not about being fear-based, but it's about being very energetically cautious. Just double check things this week. It doesn't mean that something bad's going to happen, but this is where prophecy is so beautiful, because if we are a little bit extra aware and focused this week, we can prevent things from going awry. So there we go, air signs. And also what I'm hearing is don't fan the flames. We tend to get hyped up as air signs. We get passionate, and when we get passionate with our energy and our words. And they're saying, cool it, air signs. Keep your mouth shut.
Love it. That's interesting too, because the air signs are having this full moon in their air houses of relationships. So maybe you pay attention, air signs, to your relationships.
Yeah, cool your jets, air signs. Cool your jet. This is not the week to pick a fight. No, don't do it. Don't do it. That what are those, the monkeys where it's
The
like,
monkeys, yeah. See no evil, hear no evil, say no.
think twice. Don't put your foot in your mouth. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Last is water signs.
Water signs,
Ooh,
Cancer, Scorpio,
wow.
Pisces. Ooh.
Wow. So, interesting. Huh. There's an energy of this King of Wands. I mean, for one, he's a fire sign king, and there is a lion on his throne because he is often associated with that Leo energy of, well, let's just call it, extroversion, extravagance. I'm hearing the word cavalier. There's an energy of like putting your best foot forward,
Mm,
sort of confidence, and a little bit of fake it till you make it.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Cool. Nice water signs. Okay, thank you, Ashala, so much for that.
you're welcome.
And before we finish up, speaking of Leo and the inner child and self-love, Jens has a new meditation available on the Beyond Mystic Academy, Inner Child Meditation. You guys can go check that out at the link below. And I'm not just saying it because Jens is my husband. He does fantastic guided meditations. He really walks his talk and does a lot of self-growth and self-healing and meditation work himself. So very beautiful meditation to be doing around this full moon in Leo, Valentine's Day time. Barno says, we love Jens. We do. Nice. And also, speaking of the conference, again, tickets are still available. There are limited tickets. And if you'd like to register, you can go to www.beyondmystic.net/conference, and currently a 10% discount code with Janine10, all in one word. So exciting. We're going to be together physically in about a month. Ashala, cannot wait. And again, if you'd like to have a personal reading with Ashala or myself, those are available at consultations.beyondmystic.net. And stay tuned for everyone that is signed up for the conference that would like to have a personal reading with either myself, Ashala, some of the other ladies. There will be limited availability, and we will be announcing that very soon when it becomes available. Ashala, thank you so much for co-hosting with me. Happy to be back. And we will see you all next week for another episode of As Above, So Below. Have an absolutely magical full moon in Leo. Love you guys. Bye.